Thank you, Lana, always putting me on the spot. Yeah, so what can one say about Vaughan Harris? Come over here. Yeah, it's really a great honor and privilege to introduce Vaughan, my friend, my medicine brother. Vaughan is a really special medicine person who's been walking a medicine path since his mid-20s, and from what I've seen about Vaughan's life is he walks his talk. He's really committed to what he does. I think most of you might know him as the drumming person, the drumming guy, with his heart song, what do you call it? Company?
Drum school.
Yeah, drum school. He runs gigs, he trains people to play drums, so many of you might know him through his drumming circles and his drum school, but I think I know Vaughan first and foremost as a shaman, as a medicine person. And last year, so it's been almost 2 years now, Vaughan was asked by the international visionary.
Last year, it's nearly a year.
A year ago, Vaughan was asked by the international visionary of the fire dance, Robbie Warren, also known as Robbie Otter Women Standing. She's a medicine woman from the United States that had a vision for the fire dance as a ceremonial vision dance for the healing of the planet and for the healing of people. And I'm not going to tell you too much about what the dance is about, the ceremony of the vision dance, because that's what Vaughan's going to do. But she phoned Vaughan in the middle of the night and asked him if he would be the fire chief, and before he knew it, he said yes. And of course, we were all extremely ecstatic and delighted in South Africa. And it's been a real honor to walk this path with you in the fire dance and to serve on your crew. And I really want to welcome you and look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Fred.
Yes, you're welcome.
Good evening. So, the medicine of the fire dance. It's very near and dear to my heart, this fire dance. The fire dance is high ceremony, Native American high ceremony, medicine wheel ceremony. It's a medicine dance. It's a 3-day dance. And it's kind of hard to explain to people with words. You know, even when you're there, you don't really... I know after my first dance, I literally said, what the fuck just happened? I went home and I was like, something's changed. I don't know what it is, but something has changed. And that wasn't a fire dance. Fire dance is even more worse than the first dance I went to. Okay. So, as Susie said, how did I come to be the chief of the dance? It was a shock. The whole thing was a shock to me because I'd only attended a handful of dances, and Robbie was WhatsApping me frantically just short of a year ago. I need to talk to you, What happened on Saturday? And I was like, oh, I had this random fever for the day. I don't know what happened. I just had this fever and it was gone the next day. Finally, we got speaking about 6 days later. And she said to me, okay, you know, the fire dance needs to happen with regularity in South Africa. And therefore, we need a chief because I can't come to South Africa every year. We've got dances coming up in Norway, Germany, Brazil, Iceland, Netherlands, you name it. And she's got to be at those dances because she's starting there. So how do I carry on with dances in South Africa? And Spirit basically said to her, she needs to choose a chief. So I'm like, cool. I'm listening on the phone. I'm thinking, yeah, who's this going to be? Susie? No. Not me, you know. And then she said, my friend, I sat at the Spirit Fire at the last fire dance, which was on Saturday, when you had this fever. And the Spirit Fire asked the Spirit Fire for guidance. And I asked for a name. And she said, I've got a name. So then I called my friend Albie, who's the chief in Tennessee, and said, you sit at the Spirit Fire and ask for a name. And she stood up and she said, I got my horse brother's name. Because I met Albie, he also had a dance, and she walked next to me and she said, I see you're a brother of horse with me, you know, because we own horses. So I was like, that sounds like me, you know. So then she said, Vaughan, you've been chosen. And I was like, what? This doesn't make sense. I've hardly attended any dances. It just doesn't make sense. And she said, so say yes or no. It's yes or no. Take some time. And I mean, it's Robbie. And anyone who knows Robbie, she is the most grounded medicine woman I've ever met. There's no hey wow, wafty, hippie bullshit about it. She is grounded medicine woman. And that is what this dance is about. That's why I go to it, because I've been to lots of ceremonies in my life and lost a lot of hope because all ceremonies turned into parties, you know. And ceremony and party, they're not the same thing. They're far from the same thing. And so I actually walked away from my path. And the dance has slowly brought me back. So anyway, I said, look, it's Robbie, you know, you're my friend. I trust you completely, so I have to say yes. And she said, okay. And immediately I started to cry. I didn't even know, I was just crying on the phone, and she said, yes, my brother, yes, of course, you're crying because you're saying yes to your destiny. And I'm like, okay. She said, so I'm just warning you, Spirit will come in and will strip you. You will be stripped from the inside out. Because in order to walk into the dance as chief, you need to be a hollow bone. And now I don't know if those of you know any of you know what hollow bone is, but hollow bone is very much part of the medicine, the Native American medicine dances. Hollow bone is being empty so that spirit can move through you. We often say that to the drummers on the dance because they need to keep singing, they need to keep the hollow bone, or else they will start to process and they will start to pass out. You have to keep singing to keep the energy moving, or else it gets jammed inside of you. So I understood what you meant, hollow bone. So I said, okay, that's fine. I put the phone down, and 8 hours later, I was lying in bed, and I was as sick as a dog, and I got up, and I was urinating blood. That's how fast it hit. And I was like, what? And I had to cancel my class, and 3 weeks later I was in hospital, almost at death's door. It was really bad. All my money was gone. Everything was gone. It was just gone. Everything was taken away. And I thought, what the hell, you know? I just said yes to the most amazing thing, and now there's nothing. It's all been taken away. And it was quite amazing. Friends just stepped up for me. Everyone just stepped up. And over the course of 5 days, all my bills were paid, and paid for months ahead. It was quite amazing what happened. So when I came out of that, I was on the phone to Robbie again. It was the first time we spoke. And she said to me, so my brother, you said to me, how can I be chief? How's this possible? I don't deserve it. I'm not worthy. And she said, look what your tribe did. You got taken, everything got removed from you. And look what your tribe did, how they stood up for you. You are a chief. It took me about 5 months to walk into that dance. Every single thing that lived inside of me that was no longer serving me. Every little thing that I had inside of me from when I was this high. Every little bad thing that happened that I swallowed. And this is what we all do. Every little like nasty comment, teacher treated you badly, peer pressure, your sister's a bitch, whatever, you know, it all goes in. Every relationship, everything that happens. And of course, you know, I'm the product of the 80s, so I went to the army, all that stuff was inside of me. You know, apartheid years, all that stuff was inside of me, and everything had to come out. And within every 5 to 10 days, I would have to purge. There was always something coming up. I mean, you name it: shame, fear, anxiety, pain, remorse. I mean, you cannot imagine. And I'd be in pain for days. I'm like, what's going on? And then suddenly, oh, this is shame. Boom, and then I could cry or scream. I was holding my pillow over my face many nights. Didn't want to scare the crap out of my neighbors, screaming because it had to come out. So finally, in October, I walked into the dance as chief, and I was as clean as I could be. And then the beauty starts. You know. So let me talk about the dance. The dance is a 3-day event. It's you are either called to be there or you are not. You can't say I'm volunteering. You are either called to be there or you are not. It's a spirit calling. And you are either called to crew, to be support crew, or to dance. They're two very different roles, but the one can't exist without the other. So I'll talk about the dances first. The dance is held inside of a ceremonial space called the arbor. It's a medicine wheel. It's about 20 meters in diameter, made out of wood, like a wooden frame. And then there's about another 2.5 meters of wooden frame going beyond that we cover with a tent. So dancers will go into the dance arbor from late Friday afternoon until Sunday morning. And they will stay there. While they're there, there's no eating, no drinking, no chit-chat, no cell phones, no pens, books. All of that stuff is removed. All forms of communication are removed so that you can communicate with spirit, with your higher self, so that the stuff that's inside of you that needs to be removed and needs to come up and out and processed out becomes available, because it's all taken away. It's you inside this arbor. The arbor is, I never understood the arbor really until I chiefed. The arbor to me was this yard was this a place that we did this kick-ass dance inside of, kind of this flat round thing. It's not that. It's a ball of energy. And I only understood it once I chiefed, because you create that ball of energy. It's a safe space. So when you walk in there, you are 100% protected. So no matter what you process, you're in a safe space. And we can look after you while you process. Okay? So being a dancer is hard. A lot of people go, I could never. I said, I could never. Third dance, I was dancing. I thought, I could never go without food. How am I going to not have my tea, sugar? How am I going to survive without those things, And I did it. And it's not easy. It's tough, because you are with yourself. So what happens on the Friday afternoon, we have a meeting with the dancers. We introduce them to the crew. And I'll talk about the crew and the roles of the crew in a little while. And then we bring the dancers to the arbor, and then I place the dancers in the arbor. And it's placed by intuition. They are placed by intuition. So one by one they're brought in, then you look, the chief looks, and you'll just get there. And they call one of your fire mothers and fire fathers, and they'll take them to their place. And once they've all been placed, then they get a chance to nest. They get a chance to create a space, their sacred space, their little nest for the next 36 to 40 hours. The arbor is made up, what I love about the fire dance is it has fire inside the arbor. In all the other medicine dances, there's a fire, but it sits just on the outside. Am I correct?
Yes,
I haven't done all the other dances, but from what I've heard, it sits just outside. But in the fire dance, we have 5 fires in the arbor. In the center of the arbor, there's an aspen tree at Ceremonial. And from the tree to the outside the door is in the east. So there's a line that's drawn from the tree through a spirit fire, through an east fire, and out the door of the arbor. The east is where the door is, where we enter and exit. We always enter to the left-hand side, go in a clockwise direction, and exit on the right-hand side. And this is stuff that the crew will learn and the dancers will learn when they're there. So the 5 fires, east is at the door, south is to your left, west is directly across, north is to your right, and the spirit fire sits halfway between the tree and the east fire. Each fire has their own meaning, their own color, and their own plant, or herb, plant, either way. So the east fire, for instance, is sage normally, but we use mpepo in South Africa. We're going to be using mpepo. It's yellow, and it's clearing. It's a clearing. It's where you clear. So the dancers, when they dance there, they need clearing. They will dance to the east fire. They'll make an offering of mpepo. They might sit there for a while. They might sit with that fire. They might dance off to the next fire. The south fire is corn, and it is. It's weird because it's weird. I learned it another way. I learned the Cheyenne way many, many years ago, so I've always got to turn it around. It's red, and it is nurturing. For me, the south is always the heart. It's the gentle fire. And if there's a firekeeper there, spirit normally brings a very gentle person to keep that fire. The west fire is black, where the sun sets, and it is your call to action. Your herb is cedar. And I've also seen juniper used in that fire. But the call to action, so it's a power, get stuff done. I actually, when I danced, I spent most of my time there at the spirit fire. The north fire is tobacco. It is white, and it is the place of the ancestors, the guardians. The spirit fire is spirit. It's purple, obviously, and it's spirit. And we use lavender. And traditionally they use sweetgrass, but we don't have sweetgrass in South Africa. So Robbie's been bringing that stuff, but we're changing it into more of an African way of doing it. Okay, so that is the setup of the arbor. When the dancers are in the arbor, no water or no food is brought into the arbor by any of the crew members, obviously. And we don't even have water in their vision, because when you dance, you crave water so badly that when you go to the toilet, you look at that water in the bowl and you actually consider it. You think, how sick could I get? You know? I mean, that's water, it's free. There's the stuff in the system. I'm sure they won't hear me steal some. You know? That's how bad it gets. You know? You start to bargain with yourself at some point, you know. So the dance starts on Friday evening, and we dance many rounds. Where the fire dance again is different is that we will dance into the night. When the other dances, they normally stop at around sunset, 6, 7 o'clock, depending on the dance. But we will dance up to 10 o'clock at night. And when I danced, we were woken up at 11, and we danced till 1 on Saturday night, you know. So you're like, and they come wake you up, you're like, come on, I've had no water, I've had no food, now you want me to move at midnight, are you crazy? You know, it's kind of like that. So, yeah, it's hard on the dancers, but the whole point of the dance, and what I love, is how quickly dancers go into process. You know, the first time I saw it, I thought, how real could this be? They haven't suffered. It's been 20 minutes and there's a dancer on the ground. How is this possible? It's because of the safe space. When I danced, that first drum beat came down and I felt like I was carrying 50 millstones on my back. I was like, I was already ready to go down and process. You know, that is how fast it works. Spirit moves quickly in the harbour. So when a dancer goes down, or we call it going down, sometimes they'll just get onto their knees, sometimes they'll be standing there and wavering and we'll come and support them, but at some point they will go down. When a dancer goes down, there are the next part of the crew after the chief are the fire mothers and fire father. There's normally only one fire father because there's so few male shaman in South Africa that know how to do this work. So dudes, come, get your shit together. We need it. So the fire mothers and fire fathers, they are watching the dancers. So every round that we do, we're drumming, the drum chief is holding the beat, so do, 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 and everyone's singing, ah! So it's very Native American. You sing to keep yourself hollow, you keep yourself hollow bones, so you don't process like the dancers. That's important, okay? And so if a dancer goes down, a fire mother or father would already be aware that they're going into that space, and we come to them. Susie's going to be a fire mother at this coming dance, and then they help them process whatever it is. They could cry, they could scream, they could shout, it could be anger, I've seen people vomit after a day and a half, someone's vomiting. I mean, you think, what could they be vomiting? And they're vomiting because there's poison, there's stuff that's coming out, bile, anger from whenever. And their job is to hold that space for that person. Their job is not to sympathize or empathize with them, it's to hold and help them move. And that is the role of the crew. The crew, you can always see the first time crew members arrive and a dancer goes down, there's a shock. They're like, oh, what are we going to do? And the thing is, no, you're not going to do anything. You're going to hold your space. You're going to hold this space for that person there so they can do what they need to do. Because if you start to put your energy in there, you steal their opportunity to process. So you hold your space. It's not my stuff, it's their stuff. I'm holding it in beauty, I'm holding it with love. That is the role of the crew. So after the fire mothers and fire fathers, you have the fire keepers. So each fire keeper looks after their own fire, and they hold that energy of that fire for the dancers. They make sure that the fires are always going during the dance rounds. The fires don't never go out during the entire weekend. At night we keep them on going, but very low, or else they wake the dancers up. And they hold that energy. They make sure that the plant is always there for offering, and they just keep interacting with their fire and the dancers as the dancers come up, the energy of that fire. The next role is the wisdom keepers. We always have elderly people, or people who just have elder or wisdom energy, and they sit and they hold the energy for the arbor. They are normally given a certain area in the arbor where they sit. They often have their drums, and they also assist. So if there are a lot of dancers go down, the wisdom keeper will get up and come into the arbor and help with the dancers. So I love the wisdom keepers because it's just, they bring that experience energy of many years of working with this kind of spiritual work. Next up is the drum team. The drum teams normally stand just behind the chief. The chief was giving directions to them all the time, or what tempo they need to play. Sometimes the chief will turn to them and say, we need some djembe, we need some more of this, a little bit slower, a little bit faster, and then as soon as we make a change, dancers will start to go down. They just need that, and then they start to go down. And the drum team is normally as a chief and a bunch of drummers. And the chief, the drum team, the chief is quite hard. That's the role I probably know the most after this role. And you've got to really keep your eye on the chief and the dancers, and you've got to feel the arbor, feel what's going on inside the arbor while the dance is ongoing, while the rounds are ongoing. And sometimes you will just feel, okay, we need to change something. Let's have 3 people there. And then as soon as you get that feeling and you make the change, dancers start to go into process. So next to the drum team is the dog soldiers. And it's probably the part that most people don't want to be as a dog soldier, but yet it is the most honored place because they hold everything together on the outside of the arbor. The dog soldiers normally, they're in charge of smudging, all the logistics, making sure any repairs need to be done, toilet paper, you know, everything's running smoothly. We need this, we need a blanket, we need a mattress. They're the ones who go and source it. Towels for the dancers. There's always towels at least 4 times a day. We give the dancers wet towels, either cool wet towels or warm wet towels. Those things are like, I don't know, they're like manna from heaven for a dancer. You see those towel angels coming with their cooler box, and you just think, damn, I wish I was on that side of the arbor. You know, you're just like, oh, come on, man. And you get that towel, and you're like, oh my word, I wish I could drink through my pores. Actually, I'm drinking through my pores. You know, so and those towels become so grubby and stiff, and then they come and they take them away and they give you another one. You know, so it's a really beautiful thing. The towel angel job is the most. It's the one that the dancers love the most. They always love the towel angels, you know? So, and they're part of the dog soldiers. The dog soldiers are led by what we call alpha dog, and he or she is the person who's keeping all of that stuff going. So that even means at night when we never leave the dancers alone. At night we will always have at least 2 people on guard duty at the entrance to the arbor. What they'll do is if a dancer needs to go to the toilet, they'll walk with them because they are in an altered state. We never let them walk to the toilet on their own because they also might drink, you never know. We're not like looking on the corner, okay, it's a number 2, you know. We don't go that close, we're normally sitting on the corner a bit back. You know, okay, it wasn't supposed to be funny, this is a serious topic. Anyway, so yeah, there's always someone at the arbor at night. There are dog soldiers and the drummers, and whoever wants to can actually volunteer to sit guard duty. And we always ask that people sit at least 1 night for 2 hours, also make sure the fires don't go out. And yeah, it's all about the dancers. You know, the crew. There's a support crew, but we love the dancers. That is the whole point. You know, we are looking after them. They are the children of the arbor, and their needs are paramount. If we don't sleep, so be it. If we have to stay up all night, so be it. If that's what the dance requires, then we do that. So it is such a beautiful experience being part of the dance. It doesn't feel like it at the time. Sometimes it's very hard. If you're on the crew, it can be very taxing. The next part of the crew that I'm going to mention is the kitchen. The kitchen is the engine. It's the engine of the dance. If we don't have the kitchen feeding the crew, we don't have the crew feeding the dancers. So it's away from the arbor, obviously. So they sometimes feel disjointed, but without them, if they're not fueling, we can't do anything. So it is, and this is what I love about the dance. There's no hierarchy. It sounds like there's a hierarchy, but it's not. There are roles. I cannot chief the dance if there's no kitchen, if there's no firekeepers. You know, there's nothing I can do, and I have to do all those roles. So we always need people to fill those roles, and to fill them with a huge sense of humility, because we're there to serve. That's what you've got to constantly remind yourself. You are there to serve. You're serving spirit, and you're serving the spirit of the dancers. So the kitchen, we call them the kitchen angels, and the leader is the kitchen archangel. And this one is Elena. She's going to be our kitchen archangel. She's going to be running the engine. She's going to be the person with all the fuel. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be very cool. And so that makes up the crew. And so all the different roles of the crew. The dance is huge. You know, there's no dance that you go to without going through a frequency shift. So, for instance, the dancers are going through a very deep internal process because everything's taken away. So it's all happening inside, and they go into an altered state very easily, and you can see it. You know, at the last dance we had someone who does a lot of the ayahuasca ceremonies, and on the Saturday morning she was saying, "This is profound. This is profound." You know, you don't need, in that scenario and in that ceremony, you don't need dance. It's actually just going to mix it up. So for me, it is profound. So the dancers go through this very deeply internal process, and not every dancer does that. You know, you often see a dancer who's got everything that's there. You can see it in their jaw when they're dancing. That it's there, everything's ready to come out, but something won't allow it. You know, maybe their ego goes, "I don't want to fall down in front of people," because maybe the father said, you know, "Cowboys don't cry," you know, and so they've got to get past that first thing, or, you know, "Don't be a sissy," or whatever it is, and they often, you can see it gets stuck, and we try and help that person release, but if they don't, they don't, and hopefully the next time they come and dance, they'll feel more at ease to let go of whatever's holding them back, because that's the point of it, you know. What I love about this dance is that when you empty yourself, when you go into the world, you make a difference. Robbie always says it just takes one dancer to change the world. That's what this dance does. It reminds you of your divine birthright, because we are divine beings that have had that divinity taken away from us by our system, you know, of control. There's all these controls that are put in place, and all these things. You're not allowed to feel, not allowed to do this. When you don't feel, your magic starts to dull. When you start to feel and you start to let this stuff out, your magic comes back. We are all magical beings, each and every one of us. And I didn't see it for the first few years in the dance. I just kept going. I didn't even know why I was there half the time. I was just like, I have to be here. But now, after going through this process, I can see it so clearly that when you shift, when you walk into the world, what you do in your interactions, in your work, changes the people. It's like a virus, but an awesome one. It keeps going out. It emanates from you. And whether you crew or whether you dance, you will go through a frequency shift. That's how it is. And sometimes it takes a long time for it to absorb. You know? The crew, from my perspective, I can't say that I've heard this from anyone, Robbie or anyone else, but what I've seen in the crew is that you deal with your shadow and you deal with your light, because you are stripped as well. The beautiful thing about the crew is everyone's beautiful. Even assholes are beautiful. It's amazing, you know, because they can't bring their assholeness into the dance. It's just not, it doesn't happen, it gets filtered out. I mean, the first dance I was at, there was a guy there that used to rub me the wrong way, and I saw him and I thought, oh no. And actually, he's beautiful. And it changed my whole perspective, that everyone's actually beautiful, you know. We just don't resonate with everybody. But when you're in the dance, you resonate with everybody because there's a common goal, you know. So you will deal with your light. You will see who you are in the beauty of you, but you'll always see the shadow of you as well, you know. And I've seen some shadow stuff happen amongst the crew in different dances. There's some weird stuff does go down, but you know, the chief and the fire mothers and fathers, we nip that stuff in the bud really quickly. You know, if someone starts to challenge, you know, we often have a person go, oh, I'm not doing this. And it's like, okay, if you don't want to do this, then you can do that. No, I'm going home. Okay, go home. We don't stop people. If they're that vehement, they can go home. We just don't allow people to come in and out, in and out, in and out the whole time, because they break their energy. So there have been times where people have left. I've seen in the 5 or 6 dances I've been to, I've seen 3 people leave, you know. Mostly on Friday nights, the person goes, okay, this is too much. All the fear is coming, and they're like, oh, where's my goal? You know, and they can't, you know. And that's fine. Maybe they'll come back in the future when they've dealt with that fear, you know, because this stuff's real. It's very, very real. So, and I mean, I witnessed my own shadow. I think the first fire dance, I was sharing a room with Kathy, and we were drumming, and we didn't have a good drum team. It was Kathy and I and a bunch of women who couldn't hold time. And I still said to Robbie, man, did you make this one hard? You know, we couldn't stop, because if we stopped, it was dissolving. It would just die, and the energy would go with it. So we played. I mean, we had blisters and everything. And then on the one morning, I think it was the Friday morning or the Saturday morning, Robbie came and woke us up 3. No, it was Sunday morning. She woke us up at 3, and we'd only been asleep for 2 hours because we did guard duty. And Robbie like knock. We're getting 1 hour or half an hour, and we'll be in the arbor. And I went, for fuck's sake, you know. And she went, Vaughan. And I was like, okay. That was my shadow, you know, like coming up there, I'm a naughty boy, you know, you can tell me what to do, you know, and then you see it. And that's the beautiful thing. You're dealing with your shadow. You're going to see your beauty, and you're going to see your ugly. And the thing is to see it and not be it. That is the thing, you know. I've seen people be their shadow in a few dances. It's not a pleasant thing, you know. So, but like I said, we nip that in the bud quite quickly. So, yeah, I mean, the dance follows a very beautiful, I love the ceremony because it's a ceremony with multiple ceremonies inside. So we start, everything has a ceremonial aspect, you know. On Friday afternoon, once the dances are settled, and once we light the spirit fire while we're settling the dances, then we come back from a meal and we do our first round, and everyone dresses. That's when everyone dresses. The next day no one dresses, because they're already like, yes, I'm so thirsty, stuff that headdress, you know, I'm not wearing that, no, I'm just going to go bare minimum, you know. So we start with lighting the fires before, and as soon as the fires are lit, so the spirit fire is lit for a while, then each firekeeper will take coals. We'll start with the east fire, south, west, north. Once that north fire is up, we go and we dance. And the Friday night we dance quite a lot of rounds. We might take a break. We take a lot of breaks because the crew have got to drink. They've got to drink because the dancers are getting really thirsty. And then Saturday morning we always start with the Cherokee morning song. You know, so we greet the day in the morning on Saturday. And then Saturday it's just dance round. After dance round, we just go take quite a long break in the afternoon, give everyone a chance to rest, and then dance round. So how it works, another thing I love about the fire dance is that if a dancer goes down in other dances, the drumming stops immediately. And it was like that when I danced, and I found that quite hard, because suddenly you feel very exposed, because there's the silence. It's like, and then your ego starts to go, oh, what are they going to think of me if I start crying like a baby now, you know? And in the fire dance we don't, we keep drumming. So often 2 or 3 dancers will go down. The first dancer that goes into a quiet place, which sometimes they're going to vision, sometimes they just drift into this hypnotic state, then we'll stop the drums. And then we get the dancers back to their places, and sometimes the dancer can't move, and then the dog soldiers will come in with a sheet. They walk in almost like a stretcher, they put the sheet down next to the dancer, roll the dancer up, put them on the sheet and carry them back to their bed. It is the most beautiful experience. I think some people just go down for that. Because they know what it feels like to be carried, you know, because it's awesome. It really is. You're like, oh, I'm on a cloud. You know? It's really beautiful. You feel so loved. That's the beautiful thing about the dance and being a dancer. You just feel so loved. And so Saturday we dance, and Saturday night there's another ceremony where we actually, because the way the dances go, there's a corn line coming from the tree, through the spirit fire, through the east fire. The dancers cannot cross that line. So basically they're in a washing machine, they're doing this. And it's also different to other dances. Other dances, people dance from where they sleep to the center pole and back. So when you're done, you've got these beautiful spokes. Okay, but in the fire dance, you dance in a washing machine shape. And that's quite hard, and that's why people go into process, because they're going, and that's what it's starting to make you uncomfortable. If you just keep going in a circle, you're going to be fine. But because you've got to change direction the whole time, it starts to frustrate you, and that brings stuff up. That's part of the process. So on the Saturday night, we sweep that away, and we do a ceremony where we take each dancer across a bridge, and everything that they've processed is now left behind, and now they can go into creating their future, because this stuff has been shared. So Saturday night is quite beautiful. There's a bit of a celebratory energy, and then we sleep. And Sunday morning we dance more, but it's also this dance of creating, of understanding that you're a divine being, that you are beautiful, and that you can bring something. You can create something and bring it into the world. And then we have this, we burn the prayer ties, which I should tell you the whole story about the prayer ties. But when we dance the joy round, the crew and everyone would get involved. But before that, we burn prayer ties. Now, what prayer ties are, it's another Native American tradition, is the dancers bring prayer ties with them, or they can be creating prayer ties while they're at the dance. And what it is just a square of fabric with some tobacco inside, and it's all tied on a long string, almost like caveman tinsel, because you're going to put in the tree. It does look like caveman Christmas tree in a way, So as you're tying your prayer ties, you're putting your prayers for your dancing. So a lot of dancers do it beforehand and carry on. So while they're sitting there, they're thirsty, they'll be praying, making their ties, and as soon as they're done with them, they put them on the tree. So the tree is covered in these beautiful prayer ties. And then Sunday morning, at some point, we burn the prayer ties, and those prayers are sent off, and then we dance for joy. The next part of the dance is the most amazing for the dancers, and that is they are blessed, and they're given their first cup of water. So the chief goes and gets ash from all the fires, and then honors each dancer one by one by putting some ash on their forehead, blessing their feet, blessing the journey they've just been on, blessing the journey they're about to go on, kiss their feet, stand up, put some on their heart, hold their hands, and talk to them about what the chief saw, what spirit showed them. And then they get their first cup of water. They often don't give a shit about what I'm saying. It's like, water. Hurry up already, exactly. And then after that, we break the fast, always with watermelon, fruit, cornbread, which solidifies their experience. And then dancers go off and shower, and then we have a great feast later on in the afternoon. And then finally, there's a sharing. We go into the meeting room, a blanket is put out. Everyone is asked to bring something sacred that they're ready to let go of. It's all put on the blanket, giveaway blanket. We do a big sharing. The crew is thanked. Everyone shares what they went through. It's always hyper emotional, hard to talk. I mean, in many sharings I've sat like this, because I know if I say anything I'm going to start crying, because there's so much love and so much beauty, so much has been processed that it's hard to put into words, it's hard to quantify a lot of the time. You just feel emotion, And after the sharing, there's a great giveaway. Everyone gets to choose something off the blanket, and then we say goodbye. But it's a long and beautiful process. Being the chief of the dance, I now understand why we do this. At first, I was just there because it felt like the right thing to do. The right thing for my spirit, the right thing for my friend Robbie, because Robbie is an amazing medicine woman. For me, her coming into my life has transformed my life. The first time I went to a dance, I was called by a mutual friend of ours, Jeff, and he said, we need a drummer at this dance. And I wasn't that keen, it didn't seem like something that I would be interested in. But he spoke to me about it, and he explained the gravity of it and how special it is, and so I came along. And the week preceding that dance, I only had a week, I had this feeling I was going to meet a woman from North Carolina. And that was a strange thing. I thought, why a woman from North Carolina? And then I met Robbie, but we never said a word to each other. I couldn't take my eyes off her. We were checking each other out the whole time. Not in the way that you do at a psytrance party. It was more like, who are you, kind of thing. And then finally, about 6 months later, she came to South Africa, and she stayed at my house, and we did a couple of drum making workshops, and these drums were made. And that was the beginning of our journey. And we always wondered what we were going to be. At first we thought we might be a relationship, and then that wasn't what it was. And when she asked me to chief, then I knew why we met, and then she knew why we met, because this was the journey we were going to go on together. There's not a day that it goes by that I'm not like absolutely eternally grateful for the opportunity to do this work. I'm often in tears about it, because it is just so, it's so humbling, it's so beautiful. What it does to people's lives, for people's lives, is amazing, if they choose it. Some people come to the dance and they go through a frequency shift and they resist, and their life gets difficult. And other people go through the frequency shift and they flow, and their life becomes more beautiful. Because at the end of the day, we all are supposed to be doing something magical. In whatever you do in your day, you're supposed to be doing something magical. We have just been told that we're just people, we're just ordinary. We're not ordinary. If each and every one of us access our magic, and access our power, and access our beauty, and the love that resides inside of us, if each and every one of us do that, we change the world. There's no voting can change the world. No fighting, no wars can change the world. It's the little gestures of love and kindness that change the world. And if everyone does that in a self-governing kind of way, our world changes very fast. So, that's what I love about this work. If you come into it in a fearless way, and you listen to Spirit, the Spirit, as soon as you come to the dance, Spirit will start to call you for your work. All you have to keep saying is yes. You have to listen to Spirit. Spirit will speak to you in a whisper. You've got to practice hearing it as a scream. You've got to listen to every little intuitive feeling you have and not dismiss it. Because we've been told, dismiss it. This is coincidence. This is that. No, it's not. No. Everything that you hear, Spirit, your ancestors, your guides, your higher self is talking to you all the time. And all you have to do is listen. And what the dance has brought to me is that ability to listen. When you empty yourself, your ears become a lot more sensitive. Your heart becomes a lot more sensitive. And little magic things happen every single day. And it'll transform you. And it might take a lot of dances, but you will be transformed. So thank you very much. I hope this has reached you, and I hope that I see some of you at the upcoming dance. It'll be an absolute honor to serve with you, or to chief you if you dance. That's all I can say. Are there any questions?
When is the next event?
The next dance is in 3.5 weeks' time, or less than 3 weeks' time. It's on the 19th to the 21st of May. What I can talk about is just a few logistics. You need to keep that Friday open. It's the Friday the 19th. You need to be there at midday. The ceremony starts early in the afternoon. From 1:30 to 2, the ceremony starts, where we start introducing the crew. We don't really like it for crew and that to arrive late. Dancers can't, but crew, because the dancers get introduced to them, they go into a very vulnerable state, and if a crew member suddenly arrives they don't recognize, they feel vulnerable. It's amazing that. It happened to me. A crew member arrived who was a friend of mine, and I got a shock. So you introduce and you introduce the safe space. So that's when it starts. If you crew, everyone who comes to the dance pays to be there, whether you crew or whether you dance. The crew fee is a lot less than the dance fee. We have the cheapest fee in the world. Robbie's kept it low for us because our rand is not strong. So to crew is 800 rand for the weekend, and that covers your food and all the amenities and everything. And then if you want to, you can camp, you can share a dorm space for 100 rand a night, or there's always a limited amount of rooms, but there are rooms at 260 rand a night for the 2 nights. So the crew fee will be is 1,300 odd. The dancer fee, how it works on a scale between 3,800 and 6,000 rand, whatever your prosperity allows. So most people put in 4, but if you can just do 3,800, then that's fine, And all this money is used for the dance. We have quite a lot of expenses as far as venue, firewood, food, all this stuff. and then whatever's left over goes into otter dance. Some goes to the chief to help, because the chief holds space for like hours and hours and months, but it's not a huge amount. It's what they call an honorarium, and the rest goes into otter dance, which helps Robbie travel to different dances, so that we are linking these dances all over the world like a giant, beautiful web.
So from the time that you arrive until Sunday when you get your first cup of water, you get nothing.
Well, not from when you arrive. Normally the dancers are hydrating from when they arrive until around about 4 o'clock, until we go into the arbor. But as soon as they place in the arbor, there's no more food and water. But generally they don't eat much. They drink a lot that often. Yeah.
And that's it.
That's it. On the Saturday night we do give the dancers a medicine tea, what you call a medicine tea. When I was dancing, it wasn't much. It was literally that much. But last year we had a heat wave, so we had to give them a bit more, because, and we do check for dehydration. They'll often, the fire mothers will come around and they'll check your skin to see if you're dehydrating. There's also an area set aside in the arbor called the medicine tent, and there's a mattress, and anyone who has any special medication they've got to take, it's all done inside there. There is a little bit of water in there, just to drink down a pill or something to that effect. If a dancer goes into some distress, they go in there and then we work on them. The first dance I was at, there was a guy who was diabetic, and he went into the medicine tent, and he didn't actually dance after that. His blood sugar had gone too low or something to that effect.
Is there any preparation with it?
Well, if you're a dancer, yes, definitely. You want to, that week before, you want to be cutting out sugars, caffeine, fats if possible, anything that you're going to start to crave. I didn't. I was a hero. By 8 o'clock on Friday night, I had a splitting headache and it never left because I didn't detox. I made it much harder. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, one more question. Would you suggest that can one go on crew before one has actually done the dance?
It really depends on what you're called to do. For me personally, I'm glad I crewed before I dance, because when you crew, you get to understand the medicine of the dance. Some people don't ever crew; they just only dance. But it does take you one dance to learn how to dance in a way. And I sometimes feel, well, for me, watching dancers dance, I understood what I needed to let go of. I think if I'd walked in immediately, I would have been a bit uncertain and confused by the whole process. But if you're called to dance, you'll know. I mean, the thing about the dance is you can't avoid it. If you're called, you're called. Your heart will pull. I mean, I said I'd never dance, and then when the dance came around, and I was like, oh no, I'm going to dance. This was 2 dances later. And I thought I'd never dance, but I want to dance now, but I'm going to have to wait until I can go to North Carolina or something. So, yeah.
How many dances do we take?
It just really depends. I mean, in North Carolina, they're having a dance this weekend, and there's not a lot. It's like the lowest amount of dances. I think there's about 8 or 10. But I think the least we've had is about 15. Last dance was 20. This dance, it looks like we're going to have more than 20 because we've already got 18 or so people. And we still got 3 weeks to go. Now the energy really starts to get intense and starts to ramp up just before the dance. So people start to come in and go out. Crew members become dancers, dancers become crew members, That's what we call this, the dance before the dance, these last few minutes, And, yeah, sorry, I'll be with you now. Yeah, and, actually, I lost my train of thought. Okay, you got it, sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
No problem.
With that many dancers, how do you have an adequate number of people to hold the space?
Yeah, so we normally, like the last dance, we had 20 dancers, but we had 2 fire mothers and 1 fire father, and then there are wisdom keepers as well. So, I think we had 4 wisdom keepers. It also changed according to when in the dance, because sometimes we'd have more. There was some elderly people that could only come in now and then, and that they will come in and help when necessary. Yeah. But not normal. You want to have 20 dancers going down all at once. Well, I hope not. I've never seen it, but normally it's 2 or 3 will go down. The most I've ever seen is 4. Go down at once. So yeah, and we always see, we know who's going down. Often at the last dance, for instance, I would see a dancer start to flag, and my my fire mother and father were over there, and I'd get their attention and point, and then they'd go. So we're watching all the time. I mean, the chief is about vigilance in the harbor. You've got to be vigilant all the time. We also have to be careful. We do ask the dancers to not hurt themselves, because sometimes in an altered state, a dancer might even crawl into the fire. So we do talk to them beforehand, and appeal to their higher self that they agree that they do not hurt themselves. They have to say it to the chief. Please, you will not hurt yourself. Do you agree? I will not hurt myself. Yes, chief. Okay. And you go to each one, so that we talk to the higher self so that it doesn't happen. There is the odd burn now and again. My firekeeper will burn their hand, because they've just been too close. But it's very rare. The fires are about transforming, not about injury, which is a transform, I guess.
Another question, Eva?
Yes, I was just wondering, what kind of crew do you still kind of need at this stage?
At the moment, a lot of the main positions are filled, but it can change. There's a lot of people that, like Ira, for instance, who I haven't placed because, there isn't, it hasn't been shown to me yet, and sometimes it'll be shown to me like a few days before. And that's the thing about choosing the crew, it's not up to me, In the first dance, I could feel where they were supposed to be. In this dance, because I've been in the harbor as a chief, I can stand and look at that area and who's standing there, and that's how I've seen it this time around. I can see who's supposed to be there. So, and also like people like Ira who have multiple disciplines. Sometimes Spirit keeps them in reserve in case someone pops out, and then they can pop in.
For this dance then?
Sorry?
You kind of fill that?
No, never full that, never. The way that it works is that someone sent a few messages to me saying, is there still space? There's always space. We turn nobody away, and the reason why is that I can't say to you that your call is less than that person's call, or more than that person's call. Your call is your call. Everyone who's called to be there must be there. So, I mean, in America, they'll have sometimes 50 dancers and 100 crew. In the same size arbor, and that's a lot. We never see that because our community is still quite small. Cool. I can just show a few, like one of our main tools. Oh, that's the other thing. Everyone at the dance who walks into the arbor has to wear a sarong of some sort. You need to wear a hoop of cloth around your waist. I mean, this is one of mine. There's not many people who wear these ones. Susie will wear sangoma cloths or a skirt, yeah, or a dress, yeah.
Men can also wear dresses.
Men can wear. We had a drummer a few years ago. He had his wife's skirt the whole weekend. It was frilly. And
Flowers on it.
Flowers on it. It was very Laura Ashley, actually. It was, and we were like, and he was a man.
He was rocking it.
Yeah, he rocked that skirt. So you always wear a sarong. And that's just, it honors the hoop, the sacred hoop. Can you add to that?
Yeah, it also honors, it honors your connection to the earth. Because when you have hands, your energy is channeled like this, but when you put a hoop around yourself, you remind yourself that first of all you're a sacred being, because you're standing in the center of your own circle, and it channels the energy of the Earth Mother a lot clearer. So if you feel a bit uncomfortable about wearing a skirt or a dress, which is actually better because the circle is unbroken, you can do this. And it also honors the feminine, which is the force that gives birth to everything. So in the dance, it's all about giving birth to your visions and birth to the new self. So that's why we wear the skirt in ceremony.
Yeah. It's a sacred hoop. It also honors the medicine wheel. So and everyone has their version, like I've said, but mostly kukois, sarongs, sangoma cloths, these kinds of, some people even wear a shuka, the Maasai cloth, they'll have smaller shukas. The other thing that we use in the arbor is one of the most important tools in the arbor is the feather fan. This is one that is specifically for the arbor because we don't use feather fans of predators inside the arbor. So I've got a predator wing here. We might use this more for clearing. So you'd use this outside the arbor, you wouldn't use it inside. The feather fan is it's your way of moving energy. So the fire keepers will often use it to keep the fire going, but also to move the energy. Like sometimes the energy of your fire gets dense. You just need to change it. The chief uses it mostly because where the chief stands is the entrance is in the east, and the energy comes in and it comes around and past the drummers and out the east, and it often gets jammed up there. So the chief will often just be moving that energy out with the feather fan. Also, the chief and the farmers and firefather can cross they're the only ones who can really cross the corn line except for the firekeepers there. And when they cross the corn line, they use to honor the energy. So that often we got to get across the arbor quite quickly. You have to walk around. It's going to take too long, so you just cross and you step over the line and you just honor the energy. Anything you can add about that?
So
This is a stalk, by the way.
if you're, for instance, using an owl, may I touch you?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Which is a predator. The owl is a shadow warrior, so it brings up shadows. So if a dancer is struggling with the shadow, you bring an owl in because it's a medicine bird that will pull that energy out of that person. And it's also very, very useful for healing work because what it does is when you touch a person, fire mothers will often go behind the dancers, and when they're struggling, we simply remove the energy to try and get them to move. And if they, for instance, surrender when they go down, we will put the fan on their heart to contain the energy so that they don't leave their bodies too quickly or go too far up. So it's also used in healing as a medicine tool.
So as a dancer, if you have a fan or a feather, you are welcome to bring it to dance with because it's your connection to spirit. It helps you to soar and to fly, to touch spirit when you're dancing. Be careful with raptors and with owls. They're really powerful, so start with brown birds like guinea fowl or honey doves or anything Geese,
like
ducks.
that. Geese, ducks, those are really good if you find them. Okay.
Pigeon.
Yeah, pigeons are fantastic.
They're small, you got to work really hard.
No, as opposed to swallow.
Yeah, swallow.
Well, I've seen hummingbird fans that are this
Yeah,
big.
me too.
It's extremely powerful.
Yeah.
And it's used to connect to great spirit. It's very beautiful.
I made a glossy starling one last year, so also they're tiny, beautiful little feather fan, but they're power, they have their own power. Any last questions? So if you are interested, if you're feeling called, I have left some of my business cards here. They are from my drumming, etc., but it's got my information on it. Drop me a mail. I can send you just general information and the invitation just to read through. If you feel called to be a dancer, I'll send you dancer information. If you feel called to be crew, I'll send you crew information. Okay. Thank you so much.
Sorry, I just want to ask, how many dances do you do a year? Is this going to be the
Well,
only dance?
you know what we did? The first fire dance was in 2012 in October, and then we did one in May 2013, and then there wasn't another fire dance till the end of 2015. And now we did one end of 2016, and this year we're doing two. It's the first time we're doing two fire dances, and I'm gonna try and. It's hard though, it's hard to hold that energy for so long. But I'm gonna try and do two a year. And Cape Town's asking for one, but we need an arbor, and an arbor is it's quite an expense to put up an arbor. The minimum you're going to spend is 50,000-60,000 to put up an arbor. So because you need roofing and tops and wood, and you need so much to create this arbor. So, but we'd like to move it to Cape Town as well. I have one in Joburg, one in Cape Town. That'd be amazing. So.
Super, thank you so
Thank you.
much, Vaughan. Let's give Vaughan a